I got it like Burlington, from like big box store a while ago. But they think it's no hard to press. Like put in the dryer. I don't yeah, like I think I just found like I got this very yellow. They're like dude, if I put it in order, man, if I find one, let me know your size.
Is there any chance, do you need it up that high? Because it makes it kind of hard to see.
Okay, maybe.
If we had it down just like a little.
Yeah, I just okay. I want to make sure. Okay,
Have that
perfect.
sour.
So that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you so much. All right, welcome. Everyone, can you hear me okay? I assume so. I'm gonna invite Carmen up to do our introduction as she always does, to which I am eternally grateful. Carmen, thank you, as always. And she's gonna give you the details of the talk. When I come back up, I'll just kind of dive right in. This is the first time in Hippo lecture history going back to September 2019. Now, this is not like a storied 500-year history, but this is our 30th talk. And in that time, I've never done one over 2 parts. The second part, if you saw my promo video that I posted a couple of days ago that I sent out on Flocknote, the second part will finish in April, our last Hippo before we quit for summer break. The normal page length is about word count is about 5,000 words. This is 12,000 words. So I'm just reading to you the first 5,500 or whatever. And like the feeder, we'll have an intermission. At that point, I'll, normal Hippo stuff, ask me questions, whatever, but the story actually, which I think is a very cool twist, all that is to come next month. So you have to wait till after Easter. Without further ado, help me welcome Carmen up. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Hippo Lecture number 30, St. Seraphim in the Dust Plague, set in our very own Moscow, Idaho, on Main Street to be precise, and told at an intersection of events, a mayor and her standards of an in-town perfection, homeless arrivals to Friendship Square, and a looming dust plague still at a story's beginning. Far off on the East Coast, coming closer by the paragraph, by the line. You'll have to wait until after Easter for the conclusion of this story. Normal hippos running about 5,000 words, this one nearly 12,000, and so tonight will be part 1. In the first half, then an intermission into April. But our connective thread between this and later, between parts 1 and 2, is a message most Lenten and most Christian in its essential simplicity. Judge not, lest you be judged.
It is by all accounts a most beautiful town. Entering from the sky, one glides down slowly over a perennial brown-green of hills so soft, so rolling, so tucked one on top of the other, it's tempting to think I could be too. Tucked in under one of them as if by a thick blanket, snug, soon on to a deep and restful sleep. If you're lucky enough to be gliding down when the sun is sinking, consider yourself very lucky. Out the window, fields of lentils, barley, dry peas, and wheat. And look, right there, look. You're low enough to make out the details. Affixed to a red barn, a rusty basketball hoop. 2 brothers wearing matching crimson candy apple Cougs sweatshirts. And so far, it's been 3 3-pointers in a row. Now a 4th. They high-five. And although now you're gone, now they're too far away, who knows? Maybe they won't miss a shot the rest of the evening. Maybe they keep hitting threes until the sky turns purple and their mother calls them to dinner by way of ringing a cowbell. You land, you disembark, the plane itself small enough to mistake for a toy. The airport befitting the cozy theme, 1 runway, 1 transit lounge, 2 vending machines that sell nostalgia-soaked treats, like Miss May's chunky chocolate chip cookies, Wowzer's waffle snaps, and an orange soda drink called Atomic Fizz. Atomic Fizz, why not? And it really pairs well with Miss May. You got 2 bags of those. I mean, they were 90 cents each, not even $1. Take that, Dollar Tree. And it's all in a nice stride and easy flow here. For you landed in a real, literal 10 minutes later, snack stop included. We're turning the steering wheel left or right as you exited the parking lot on your way home. Home. Where is home? I don't know. Who are you? That would be my first question. Where do you live? I assume not Spokane, for Spokane has its own larger airport, one with brand name snacks, Lewiston too. If we deductively reason down that most likely not Colfax, not Uniontown, not Colton, not Palouse, although these do qualify, approximately speaking, we're left with a left turn towards a large state university and a right turn this way across a border, an elegant line, so crisp, let's call it a frontier, towards a large state university. Right turn it is. And remember that it is, by all accounts, even popular claim, more so professional journalistic stamps of approval via panegyrical articles employing florid prose and all the right adjectives in glossy magazines, a most beautiful town. Much of the credit must be attributed to the local power couple team, Mr. and Mrs. Craigmore. Lucy Craigmore, mayor, recently reelected by an astounding 77% of the vote. Dave Craigmore, her husband, local land oligarch, if you will, who made no small fortune in the California real estate game and snazzy, stuffed to the rafters rich Carmel by the Sea, and then brought that capital with him here. He made money, bona fide cash, earning him a page near middle of the magazine, bottom right-hand corner, inset mini feature in Forbes. Something people love about Dave is that he used to be a regular at Clint Eastwood's Thursday night poker games. Yes, he owns just about half the buildings in town, and he loves this town, our town. And he gives a lot to keep it looking good, properly maintained, but tie him down for a cup of coffee at B's or OW's or even quaint M's affixed to the Catholic Center on Deacon. Well, he'll spin that yarn until it frays and splits and disintegrates. Tell us, Dave, did Clint really wrestle an authentic Razorback once? Dave, please be serious. Did Clint claim that blank happened after blank and blank went to blank with blank? No way, Dave. Stop, Dave, for the love of humanity. Lucy dotes on her husband, loves him in that my man, that's my man type old-fashioned way. But as Mayor Lucy, she sometimes wishes he'd promote the city activities as much as he does Clint Eastwood. It is a beautiful town. Things are going good, maybe threatening to boom into some kind of roaring 20s, minus Black Tuesday and a depression. The Main Street Farmers Market has tripled in size, expanded up to the corner of Rosar's and gas station Bermuda Triangle dispensaries number 6, 8, and 2. They still make those extra doughy gingerbread reduction, all the throwaway parts patched together, slabs smack that icing on top, plus maybe a raisin, bars, Rosar's. Boise State University is considering opening up a local branch campus called BSU Panhandle, and for no other reason than respect and a hoped slice of the pie to be where the action, the star power, the very green glint of the gem state happens to be at the present moment. A house in the Fort Russell district sold last year for $1.6 million. Many homeowners here have hot tubs, and they take hot tubs at the same time of day, late evening, so as to have neighborhood block parties, each person in his or her own hot water. They play music very loud, publicly in this town, but it is always, without fail, classical music, Mozart roughly 30% of the time. A brisk walk in the University Arboretum on a cold autumn morning when it's foggy, but not so much you can't see the moose, hard to beat that. And the town was ranked number 8 on top 10 best places to raise a family in America. The Co-op is the only grocery in the country to feature an exclusive selection of Mongolian cheeses and Black Sea wine. A local artist also named Dave, not the mayor's husband, got his work showcased at the Met in New York City last fall. And to think, the local paper wrote in the aftermath, he's been here all along. But so where have we been? They asked. St. Mary's School added 9 through 12 5 years ago, and last year the varsity girls volleyball team took state. Team titles, athletic crowns, you ask? Just don't ask if the partying on the one insane Main Street was an adjective tornado, equal parts grand, rowdy, boisterous, intense, overbearing, pugnacious, joyful, cheerful, unintelligible, and inscrutably mirthful when the university's football team won their division's national championship. Don't ask if the head coach was at the head of the parade, his head doused in apple fritter juice marmalade. Good times. Maybe in the present moment, now things are not so beautiful in other places and otherwise in America. But are people here supposed to care that for the first time since 1815, America could go to war against Great Britain? Or that Canada recently signed an economic and military special friendship treaty with the Chinese? Or that the national debt last month broke the quadrillion mark after a few years hovering in the $990 trillion range? Just last week, Maine's Portland Press Herald ran the following headline: mysterious Dust Bowl-like dust storm, hybrid geological event with bacteriological pathogenic effect, baffles scientists and the medical community in Nova Scotia. Probably not. Interest, caring, here, the people in this town. But if this is true, can you blame them? What a bumbling, rambling headline that is. And you think people here read Maine newspapers? I doubt many of them don't know what's happening in Portland, Oregon. That the article details said best bets are that it might just be unprecedented, this dust storm plus bacteriological pathogen. So you're saying an airborne virus propelled in wind funnels, you're saying go look at photos of that, the Dust Bowl. But now that dust falling doesn't just coat your farm, your mouth, your dreams. It's an infection agent, a biowarfare, waves of madness maybe. Even these details might not make people who believe they don't need to care. A strict quarantine Halifax, residents told not to go outside. Close windows, tape them shut if you have to, just stay indoors, keep your head down, dust everywhere. Kudos to the Press Herald. They did slap down an easy to remember name for the event, the thing, whatever it is, the dust plague. Back here, it is a beautiful town. Lucy loves the expanded farmers market, and especially the throngs of people who patronize it. She really likes they bring their money too. Fat wads of cash, many of them. These throngs, thick like locusts, stroll the main drag. They buy, sample, sometimes take large bites, eating this, that. Oh, you really got to try. Okay, look, just one bite. Oh, that's good. When the weather's good, it's grand. And sometimes she'll stroll on through herself, admiring what is to her, not that she would admit this, a life's work, a masterpiece, a teleological drive starting with the end in mind, the ends justifying the means being good old-fashioned hard work. Easy smiles, a soft pat on the back, deftly placed words of encouragement, substantial dollops of business acumen, thanks Dave, and just the slightest tweak fine-tuning concerning marketing, promotional postures, well-timed interviews, hype, buzz, and an already sterling reputation set in perpetual motion so as to always be preceding itself. And quite simply, the end goal is Lucy's desire for this to be the best town in the history of towns. And it's not just all the positive additions to the town Lucy has overseen that matter. She's good at subtraction too. Yes, it takes talent and foresight and good management to build a place well, but you have to pull up some weeds too, have to be good at pruning, trimming the fat. Problem number one in this regard, where the activity has gone common if not tri-weekly, at a midpoint on Main Street, truly at the center of the beloved farmers market called Friendship Square. Betraying its name, Friendship Square had become center stage for all kinds of public spats between the various rival factions in town. A protest of Israel drew counter-protests denouncing Iran. Much like in the actual Middle East, the two sides accomplished little other than yelling insults at one another. But here in this town, right in the open air, for all to see. And it was the same for every type and stripe of cause that for whatever reason found itself pooling around and about Friendship Square. Believers versus atheists, climate alarmists versus climate hoaxers, the political left versus the political right. The right being yelled at by the extreme right, who were being cheered on by the alt left, while the extreme right attacked the right only to change course, the alt left did, when the alt extreme left started attacking them. And all of this to Lucy's dismay on the grounds of so-called Friendship Square. Lucy took action. Lucy deracinated some weeds, issuing an official proclamation that Friendship Square was to be renamed Philadelphia Court. For mere friendship had proven woefully inadequate. What was needed was a commitment to universal brotherly love. She banned, under the penalty of a domino trigger of cascading fines and citations, any type of speech, demonstration, rally, and or intellectual and or propagandic showing of whatever sort. When certain unhappy parties protested at the next city council meeting that this was a clear violation of multiple First Amendment rights, not to mention the dictionary definition of unfriendly and anti-fraternal, Lucy, calmly but with a quiet determination, explained, now by inference, by, hey, read between the lines here. For she would never, of course, never plain state something like this, no. But it was obvious to all what she meant when she explained that some of the people at this meeting had submitted certain building applications and permit applications and other assorted paperwork that she herself personally was going to have to approve. And well, gentlemen, wouldn't it be just such a shame if those documents somehow got lost? Lucy won. Philadelphia Court became a model of silent stability, a monument to void, to absence, to a lack of noise, of commotion, of people in the still bustling on farmers' market days, city center especially, and it was all going just so great, so properly excellent in this beautiful town, until the day he showed up. One man, dressed in a brown zip-up sweater, bluish gray pants, white tennis shoes, his hair neatly combed to the side. He even wore glasses, an uncommon touch for those in the homeless community. For 5 days now, he was all day and every day, and then into the night, overnight, found sitting, then laying down, sleeping on Philadelphia Court. 5 days was fine enough for this stunt, this whatever this was, Lucy thought. She now growing a bit concerned, but if he was still there tomorrow during the farmer's market, something would have to be done. This town had not had a case of homelessness in more than a decade, predating Lucy's tenure, and she wasn't about to allow standards to slip on her watch. But he was there the next day, and the full market flowed on by and around him as though he was not, as if he didn't even exist. But a promise was a promise, even if just made to herself, and so Lucy sent a few policemen to speak with the man. Right as the booths were being taken down and the last fruit baskets piled away into freezers for long journeys home. Well, she says, when the policemen returned to issue their report, is he gone? One of the officers says, I don't know, ma'am. What do you mean you don't know? You don't know? You don't know what? We spoke with him, the other officer says, and we passed along your directives clearly and firmly that it is illegal to partake of any type of demonstration in Philadelphia Court, and that furthermore, camping out, squatting, prolonged loitering is expressly forbidden there and throughout the city. Then what's the problem? Lucy says. Did you order him to leave? Yes. I don't understand. We ordered him to leave, ma'am, but he explained that he could not leave. He said he had come here and was staying here because of matters of the gravest importance. Lucy scoffs and, stepping back, almost trips over a small pile of books next to her desk. This is your interpretation of the law, officer, saying his last name with a clear touch of derision. For the second policeman, she skips over titles altogether, angrily pitter-patter, repeating his last name twice, then saying, and you're going along with this. You're supporting this type of law enforcement. How very modern I see. How lovely and compassionate and well woke. A police force that asks the offender if he wants to suffer the penalty for his crimes. And what do you know? You know what? No, I think I would not like to be charged. Yes, I think I'll just carry on my merry. We find him, the first officer says. We told him to leave. He did not leave. We proceeded to inform him that refusal to leave would mean a citation. He said that was okay, that he understood. We issued the citation, told him we would be back the next day and the following day, and that each day he refused to comply with the city ordinance, he would be fined. He thanked us. He shook both of our hands, told us he understood. So we left. Get out of my office, Lucy says. Get out. She almost trips on the books a second time, and that would have taken the cake. That would have been just what she needed now, the cherry on top. Her clean and orderly city slowly slipping into anarchy, a rogue and renegade police force aiding delinquent revolutionaries. And that she, had this happened, sporting some kind of awful bruise on her cheek or forehead from hitting her desk on the way down. She picks up the pile of books and smacks them down on the table. People say petulant outbursts of anger only exacerbate the bad feelings of a worked up situation. What idiots, she thinks. Picking up the pile and this time really slapping it down on the desk. It sounds good. Reverberating like a large wet fish crashing into aluminum siding. It feels good. What she had not yet picked up off the floor nor noticed was that day's New York Times, formerly covered by the pile of books. Once a story moves from the Portland Press Herald to the New York Times, it becomes generally understood that things are afoot, things are getting serious. And on the front page, no less. Dust plague crosses our border, health officials unanimous only in uncertainty. Burlington, Vermont, Syracuse, New York under quarantine. These cities and many more submerged in darkness. Tens of thousands feared dead. CDC tells Mid-Atlantic region and greater NYC metro region to make preparations now. We don't know much at the moment, CDC director says. We do know it's moving southeast, it's moving fast, it's deadly. Naturally, once the dust plague appeared on the front page of the New York Times, fear and fascination gripped the country. In only 10 days since the man arrived in Philadelphia court and the officers talked to him and then talked to Lucy and then Lucy smacked her books on her desk in frustration, the situation here in town had gone full-blown critical. The homeless situation, that is. Yes, it was now confirmed the dust plague had clipped on by past New York City and DC. And that was no small cause for celebration. The American president, when exiting his biocontamination bunker, openly thanked God for sparing the capital, and then went on to name God 9 or 10 times more in his speech, even approaching the very Old Testament exodus out of Egypt Pharaoh precipice of beginning to, well, it seemed like he was going there anyways, openly speculating if America was receiving a type of divine chastisement or something. And perhaps we deserved it. And perhaps it was time to look inward, all of us, even if just metaphorically, to put on sackcloth and ash and wait, is that the sun? Clear skies? Repentance, folks, never mind all that, he said in transition, coming fast to his separation of church and state senses. Confirmed now, 10 days since, confirmed that DC and New York and down the Atlantic coast through Virginia Beach onto Cape Hatteras and Charleston and Savannah, all the way towards the Florida Keys and the Gulf of Mexico had been spared. Confirmed too, by way of a hazmat suit post-mortem picking through the rubble, that aforementioned Syracuse had been Carthage-style salted to the ground by this thing. About 150,000 had called this home. Everyone's dead. They're gone. They're gone. They're dead. The breathless report came over the phone. 2 further questions went unanswered. The man had broken down in tremorous sobbing and had dropped the phone. A colleague picked it up, explained that this was in fact, unfortunately, the reality on the ground. No survivors were anywhere present. Tons of corpses lay about the town. They looked like they had suffered a Great War mustard gas attack. The dust appeared to eat through metal. The man explained he had watched a stop sign covered in dust get eaten away as if by some acid within only a few hours. Confirmed now that the storm was heading next towards the Ohio Valley, then on further west, Chicago was already a ghost town. Lucy had more important things to worry about. In these latter 10 days, the man had not moved from Philadelphia court, had been fined daily, was still wearing his brown zip-up and sweater and blue-gray pants, but now, and just try to imagine the horror from Lucy's perspective, had attracted a mini following of sorts, other homeless people. And as of today, there were 7 squatters, all men, who had taken up residence. Cops were sent again, fines handed out, this time triple the amount, and for the first time, threats of arrest and detainment were made. 5 of these 6 new arrivals, unlike the original man, who, despite his apparent circumstances, was rather well-kept, were homeless-like, out of central casting, visibly drunk before noon, huge beards, dirty baseball caps, sometimes worn sideways, almost falling off as if standard or reverse, would be some kind of concession to society. Untied shoes, one guy wearing one sock inside a shoe, his other foot bare inside a shower sandal, which was still wet. And there was singing and carrying on, and it wasn't before long that the crowds that so often filled the downtown to shop and sip coffee and push children in strollers were stopping at Philadelphia Court and just kind of observing, studying even, the growing collection of men sitting, apparently doing nothing, unless that 40th rendition of 99 bottles of beer on the wall counts as something. And who is anyone to say it does not count? 5 of the 6 new guys, unlike the original guy, with the 7th and final guy, the most extreme of them all. "I am Seraphim," he would yell periodically. And these are outbursts like a geyser at Yellowstone, sudden and sky high. These emanations were near apoplectic in their excitement and as varied as they were nonsensical. "Down with the fixed price of 2% milk. Cats and dogs and mice and sunflowers and cake. Kansas, 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 good old Kansas, all the livelong day," are expressions of the man calling himself Seraphim yelled atop a home-fashioned soapbox platform from his newly found home in Philadelphia Court. Seraphim wore blue faded jeans that were not quite long enough, didn't quite reach his perpetually untied steel-toe work boots. A tight-fitting and prodigiously stained, the stains looking like coffee stains, tank top did its best to cover his ample midsection, and he wore a yellow trucker's hat with a rather long message printed upon it in small font reading, "I've sung in the greatest choir in the whole universe." Seraphim started entertaining passerbys, especially the kids, with his ability to burp out any song on demand. "Mary Had a Little Lamb" is the current favorite. Lucy, as you can imagine, was just about beside herself. It had been more than 2 weeks now since first arrival, talking, fines, book slapping, and what was bothering her most of all was that people here, not just in this town, but the larger Palouse region, were starting to show a palpable open fear regarding the ongoing westward march of the dust plague. Chicago, thank God, the evacuations had been ordered and executed in timely fashion, had been Syracuse. Acid eaten down to the bone, the famous tourist spot, the Bean in Millennium Park, of particular note. For one had to see the photos of what remained to believe your eyes. And when those winds came in off of Lake Michigan and drove the dust across Lakeshore Drive and whipped the storm round and round throughout the city center, as Amish women of old whipped butter by way of large wooden spoons plunging about thick wooden barrels, churning, 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 well, perhaps it's better to stop there, out of respect. The dust plague kept on marching, was supposedly now somewhere over Nebraska, poor Omaha. North Platte, you might be next, but Lucy couldn't understand why people were so worked up about the possibility, the potentiality, not the guarantee, just the chance that this storm might hypothetically arrive here to this town, when they were already suffering a far more dangerous plague. Business in the city center was down, people were disturbed. Never before had so many complaints come into Lucy's office. That how was one to feel safe walking in downtown with them there? That how could a citizen possibly carry a coffee or an ice cream walking past Philadelphia Court when it might be stolen, ripped right from your hands at a moment's notice? That if Lucy didn't, quote, take care of this now, immediately, we the voters will take care of your political career at the polls next time. One woman had been walking past Philadelphia Court holding organic brown eggs fresh from the co-op. The quality here truly top-notch, alongside a glass-cased matching quart of organic milk, for which she had paid the pretty penny of $17.99, when Seraphim exploded skyward shouting, "'Tis the season to be jolly, jolly ranchers, I promise you all." The surprised woman dropped it all, the eggs, the milk, smashing and crashing upon the concrete. She's now threatening to sue the city and Lucy personally for $1 million for damages related to the lost produce and owing to the emotional distress suffered. She's going to go through with the lawsuit, she has assured the mayor, unless she, Lucy, comes up with, quote, a final solution to our problem. Lucy decided to call in Dave. He's good with people, good at talking, allying with, then persuading. It's precisely these characteristics that made him such a formidable businessman. And so he went, walked down to Philadelphia court and asked the original brown sweatered man if he'd care for a game of chess. Certainly, the man replied. Dave unfurled a green and white portable board from its brown sheath, opened the bag, dumped it all out onto the table. Dave even brought a chess clock, because it's the little details that matter. The other man won the first game in 4 moves. Pawn to e4, queen to f3, bishop to c4, queen to f7, the final move taking opposing pawn checkmate. Both men laughed out loud. Want to play again? Dave asks. Of course, the man says, flipping the board around so as to change sides. 10 minutes in, and this time the game was hotly contested, each player having early on lost his queen, a bishop, and while Dave both his knights, the man had stupidly sacrificed a rook, so it really was up for grabs at this point. Dave got down to business. So if you don't mind me asking, Dave leads in, taking a pawn with a bishop before gently tapping the clock. Why are you doing this? Excuse me? Is this a statement, a political statement, some kind of cause you're supporting? The man says nothing, takes a pawn with a pawn, and then taps the clock. Dave says, I'm curious. We're all curious. I don't mean to offend you. It's just the mayor is really she cares about this town. The appearance of the town. I got to be honest. No offense taken, the man says, cutting him off. Dave cannot believe his ears. No offense. No offense. He intones to himself again and again, internally, silently, as he pretends to be deeply pondering his next move on the board. No offense. Oh, I know this guy. Yes, that voice, voicing that precise phrase. This is Mark Wilkins. Mark Wilkins, still completely to himself, eyes down, now fiddling with a piece. The chess clock is ticking. It waits for no man. Mark Wilkins, the former congressman, the representative of that next district next door, Mark, Dave finally says. Mark, why are you doing this? The man looks at him. It's your move, he says, pointing to the clock. It's you, right? Mark Wilkins. It's Mark Wilkins. It's you. It's you. Are you going to move or not? The man asks. Dave moves a pawn. It's a pointless move, considering the state of the game on the board at present. Yes. The man, now confirmed to Mark Wilkins, says, yes, it's me. He takes the pawn Dave just moved. Why are you doing this? Dave says once more, what is this? Are you really, you down on your luck? Do you need some money? No, this is some kind of stunt, isn't it? It's not a stunt, Wilkins replies. Dave says nothing, but does not stop staring at him. It's not a stunt, Wilkins says again, but I can't say it anymore. I can't talk about anything else. Just no, it's not a stunt. It has nothing to do with politics, nothing like that. Look, Dave says, having paused and pushed the chess clock to the side, his body language is textbook exasperation at the moment. What am I supposed to tell my wife? Wilkins bursts out laughing. It's a beautiful laugh because it's authentic. He is neither snickering nor scoffing nor deflecting nor attempting to mock. He is laughing. He is laughing hard. I'm sorry, he finally says, clearing his throat. I don't know. This has nothing to do with her. Nothing to do with her. She's the mayor. Wilkins starts laughing again. Dave says, I could have you arrested. I really could. That's what she wants. A lot of people want that, for your information. A lot of people, but no, I said no. I told her, just let me talk to him, talk some sense into him. Talk some sense into me, Wilkins says. I thought we were just 2 guys playing chess in the fresh air on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. 2 people trying to salvage something of human customs, friendships forged on the fly before that dust thing shows up here. 1 call, Dave says, extending his index finger. 1 call is all it would take for me to have you and your whole cohort, posse, arrested. 1 call. The 2 of them look away briefly and look at Seraphim. He's changed his shirt, but is still wearing his yellow "I've sung in the greatest choir in the whole universe" hat. He's doing some kind of workout that involves, at maximum speed, completing 7 push-ups, then 7 crunches, then 10 air squats, and repeat. And he's going truly full speed, and his form is properly ghastly. Something like you couldn't do it with worst form if horrible form was what you were aiming at. if you were trying to employ bad form. Wilkins now looks back at Dave. You know how the saying goes. You would have no power over me if we're not giving you from above. One call, please. You think that's gonna what, break me? I'm just sitting here, aren't I? Is sitting and sleeping in a public space illegal? No drugs, no drink. We're not too loud, I think. Tell your wife this. I'm not leaving because I cannot leave. No matter how many threats of arrest come my way, no matter how many of these I'm issued, pulling a crumpled up wad of citations from his pocket. I cannot quit this space, as it were. I was asked if I would accept this mission, and I had a choice. We always have a choice. And I said yes. And here I am. And here I'm going to be. And that's it. Believe me, I wish I could tell you more so you could tell her more. I can't speak about it. I'm sorry. Dave gets up and leaves. How peculiar, he thinks. Yes, it's not strange or weird or baffling or confusing or annoying. It's peculiar. A stalemate of sorts set in regarding Wilkins +6 on one side and Lucy and Dave in the city and the woman who had threatened to sue because of spilled milk. She obviously disregarding the wisdom. There's no use crying over it. And well, she had still not gone through with the lawsuit. And so maybe she had been blustering and bluffing the whole time. And speaking of things gone, but in the negative, things not gone, Wilkins and Seraphim and the other 5 men, they were not gone. And nobody really knew what was going to happen with what the local newspaper had taken to calling Showdown in Philadelphia, PNW edition. During the stalemate, the city appeared to return to a sense of pre-arrival normalcy, a position of tolerance even. The homeless guys were there, and so what? Farmers market was still booming. It had never stopped booming, and that went a long way towards setting Lucy at ease. Maybe, just maybe, she thought, the 7 men could render some service back to the community. I mean, she said to herself, we haven't kicked them out, haven't arrested them, we even stopped finding them. What if they become kind of like an attraction during the market? Photo booth on Philadelphia Court with the 7 dwarves. No, she thought. But something that can be marketed. Yes, something to have them earn their keep. I'll keep thinking about, I'll work on it. Nobody was aware that the man in the brown zip-up sweater, the blue-gray slacks, Wilkins, was in fact former Congressman Mark Wilkins. Dave had kept that to himself. Why? Who knows? It's just all very much a peculiar situation. And as for all the people on the street, did they not notice him? No, because we really don't like to look at a homeless person, certainly not in the eyes. Your own father could be out on the street. There's a good chance you'd walk right past him. During one farmer's market, 2 brothers, each wearing matching crimson candy apple kook sweatshirts, one of them holding a basketball under his arm, offered Wilkins a $20 bill given them by their grandmother. She of the opinion that charity not only starts at home, but that the lessons about charity extending beyond the home begin at home too. He thanked the boys politely, but told them he didn't want their money. Didn't want any money from anyone, and that was the most peculiar thing of all. Nobody knew what he wanted. The plague kept moving westward. People kept frequenting the downtown. The men remained in the downtown. Lucy was pacified, at least partially, and life was progressing as life usually does. Hundreds of hidden compromises, pushes, pulls, unseen sidesteps, and the overall will to keep going, even with one's head down and the coat buttoned and zipped to the top. This because even though it was seemingly coming, there was good hope, so said the experts, that the town would be more like New York City and Washington, D.C., than timely evacuated Chicago and Syracuse. Syracuse, forget about the possibility of that. That was not going to happen. And then it all changed. People never understand this. They sit dumbfounded and ask, often aloud, how hijacked jets could have hit the Twin Towers in a morning when there was not a cloud in the striking blue sky, as if hijacked jets on an overcast day satisfies some nebulous pseudological sense of justice, as if from overcast skies, we should have seen it coming. They sit dumbfounded and ask how the Japanese could have just decided to bomb Pearl Harbor and then gone through with it on one real day of chronological history. And then afterwards, it was done. They had done it. And ask how? I mean, because all the polls told us, all the pundits swore it was true, that it was going to happen in favor of Mrs. Blank-blank, that an American electorate chose the New York businessman over the former First Lady, ex-Secretary of State. Ask how
How, even yes, stupid questions, puerile, infantile questions like, but how did our team jump out to a 21-0 lead at halftime and then lose? How is that possible? Possible is possible, always possible, owing to the reality of change and agents of change. And people just do not ponder this long enough. Terrorists, sneak attack pilots, voters, many of whom, the voters, would never admit they were going to vote for blank, but they didn't vote for blank because they, like terrorists and sneak attack pilots, and even all the amalgamated parts of the football experience, the players, the coaches, the referees, are agents of change capable, even when only possibly, of creating change. And sometimes they do. Sometimes they make change happen. And things like whatever this dust plague is are certainly agents of change that can change like all changing things do. And when doing so, cause changes, more generally and grandly speaking, to occur. That's what has now happened. The dust plague was going to miss them, pass on to the south. Yes, evacuate Boise, get Nevada on the horn, get Nevada empty. Even the far reaches of the loneliest road in America, US 50, where no one lives, where you can't find 2 gas stations or 2 broken soda machines less than 200 miles apart, get everyone out, head west, wait, south, go really south, cross the border into Mexico if you have to, swim the Rio Grande backwards, southward, whatever, man. Just get you and yours to safety. There's no time to lose. All this, all of that had changed because things do change. And now the dust plague at present time down to seconds and milliseconds in its swirling, acid eating through metal, through everything, turbulent wind channel firm over north central Wyoming was going to crash into them within days. Maybe hours, like 36 hours, a day and a half, crash into them in a direct hit. And yes, I'm sorry to repeat, that was the prognosticated consensus all around, heard many times, again and again. We regret to say that it is going to be exactly like Syracuse, maybe worse. Please prepare now. One moment, the collective consciousness of the town was that the dust plague would pass them by. Therefore, don't worry about the dust plague. Go back to fighting with your spouse, road raging someone at the next light, worrying about what color halter top goes best with purple jeans, what you're getting for dinner later, and if it's worth texting him back or not. I mean, why not? It's just a text. The next moment, like a split second later, where the passing of time is not felt, it is just not felt, not comprehended, not taken in, like passing through a door from snow outside to fire-heated warmth indoors. There and then you feel and comprehend the transition as it's happening. No, here, one moment, next moment, that same moment, that next moment is now. Now we know, all of us, individually and as a whole, as we've all found out all at once and suddenly, that it's coming for us and soon. And so it was utter chaos. Many people in the downtown dropped items in hand and started sprinting as if running from a tidal wave or some King Kong monster stomping in from the horizon to their cars. Reasonable, one might say, assuming they're thinking, okay, a day and a half, maybe 2, turn that key, fill that tank, drive away. Other people were actually standing in place as if frozen and just screaming. One lady, she not screaming, sat down on a bench and started scanning for flights on her phone. If one sat down next to her, they'd see she kept typing in Barcelona as point of origin, destination either Delhi or Tokyo, and she kept going back between those two in terms of where to land, but always out of Barcelona, so she wasn't doing okay. One guy picked up a rock and threw it through a storefront's main window. Luckily, no one followed his cue. People were much too terrified to riot. He looked around a few times in that "what did I just do" fashion, before himself breaking into a sprint and disappearing down some side street. Wilkins and the 6 other men were still in Philadelphia court. Wilkins had been sitting the usual the past month plus, and maybe it was 2 months now, who's counting, sitting and seemingly doing nothing besides, but at least he was calm.